To help you with your development, I thought I'd do an application which has got a lot of similarities to what you need to do and then share it with you. Thought that might be helpful. So I've made a application here for Athletics Day. Let me explain and then I'll go through this a little bit further. So this application is designed for you know how on Athletics Day, deans always want the students in their house to do 6 events, and they've got all kinds of ways of trying to motivate them to do that. And the typical one is that you get a little card that you have to fill things in on, and everyone loses their card and all the rest of it, and the tutors don't hand them in. I've been guilty of that. So the idea is we'll do it all electronically. So students will sign up for their events electronically. And then as they go to each individual station, javelin, whatever, they get ticked off by the person running the event. It says, yep, you got involved, and then the deans have got that record and can hand out pizza and lollies and stuff. So here it is, Pakuranga College, this is the basics of it, Pakuranga College homepage. I'm going to log in as an admin. Admins get the full functionality anyway. You'll notice that the menu bar is currently pretty empty. But now I've logged in. Nope, I don't want to check my passwords. I've gone straight into this screen. So these are all the events that are available, and I have signed up for 6 of them currently. And I could unsign myself up from senior high jump boys and senior javelin girls and sign myself up to the 3000. So that would be a typical thing that users would be able to do. I also have here the options to view the users. Currently we have 3, me, Mr. Test and Simon Stoop. And I have the option to add events and edit events, as you can imagine. And a typical user, so if I was logged in, for example, as Simon Stoop, who we can see is a user, not an admin. He wouldn't have these visible in here. So that's the functionality, and this is the application. I've put it on GitHub for a couple of reasons. Firstly, so you get the code, which I guess I could have put up on Google Classroom, but also I thought it might be useful to just show the process of development that I went through. Because one of the great things about GitHub is all of your previous code is available. So this is the version you just saw, but I've also got 9 commits going all the way back to here where I started by adding some files. So for example, if I hop into this one, it says I've got the basics in place. So I can see the files I've got 3 files, and this PyProj one always changes because the file was being added and deleted, but that's the only one we're not interested in. But you can see like app.py. You can see what I deleted. I deleted the boilerplate comment at the top because we shouldn't just leave boilerplate comments in that are meaningless. I've added the imports, and I've added the connection to my database, and I've deleted the hello route, and I've changed it to an index, and you can see it's rendering that template index.html, and then we can see index.html down here. So that was my very first stage. Then if I go and have a look at, say, a step further on, you can see this one, I set it up to use the Bootstrap with a underscore layout.html. So I've set it up with all that block extends and stuff. So let's just have a look at what I've done. This actually tells you which templates I've added and so on. So I might just go through that actually. It says that I've added a style sheet. I've added a login and an underscore layout, and I've added my static CSS folder, which the style sheet went into. So then if I go down to app.py, you can see I've added a login route. And this is fairly typical. I did if request.method equals post, so if they submitted something, this is where I'm going to process their login. But I didn't want to write that at this stage. I know I'm going to do it in a bit. I just had a bunch of other stuff to do first. So I put a pass in here for now, because that just says do nothing. If you don't put anything there, you get an error to do with indentation, but putting pass says do nothing. So that's like a placeholder for code that I'm going to write in the future. And return render template login.html. Yep, makes sense. I've put in a body style, it seems, in this style sheet.css, which I made. The Rebecca purple, we saw that purple. It's got a placeholder color, but I grew to like it, so it stayed. And then I made this underscore layout.html. So this would have taken, I don't know what I can't remember exactly what I did, but you can see that I've put in all of the bootstrappy kind of stuff in there. And I've put in a nav bar with some probably placeholders links there. And I've put my block content here. And then my index.html ripped out that header stuff and put the extends layout. So this is why I think this is useful, because it shows you the stage of what you need to do in order to go from not using an underscore layout to using an underscore layout. Is you need to create this underscore layout, of course, and you need to put in this bit here, and you need to delete this bit, and then put in these bits in your templates. And you can see I've done that in my login.html as well. So that might be useful. Let's have a look at some other indicative stages then, if I look at every single one. Oh yeah, a lot of people are going to want to be doing this, registration and login functioning. So you can see I added a session variable to keep track of who's logged in or not. So that's useful information. I created these constants. It's one of the things that is a little bit of a flag for excellence. If you don't have just random, if role equals 3, you have if role equals role teacher all the way through your code, and you define those at the beginning here. So here we come back to that pass. You can see I deleted the pass and I wrote the code instead. So there's a bunch of stuff in there. Not well commented. I should do more comments, shouldn't I? Maybe I've commented better in a later version. I can't remember. And then I've got a register, and you can see all the stuff that would be in there. And of course, that's going to match up with the login.html, which looks like it was originally a very simple form. I can't even remember if it was a form. Yes, it was a form. It was a very simple form, and I've cleaned it up and made it look nice by the look of it. So that was login, and that's register.html, which is added fresh. Looks like I did a copy and paste and then changed the fields, I seem to remember. So that's all of those. And I think a lot of people are going to need a user system, and basically that is the user system just right there in that registration and login functioning. So that is probably something that people will be looking at first. Then I've got user management, which I think is just where you've got the list of users that I had, and I don't know if you remember back here in the user management I could edit their level. Now this is clearly not done. If I just go back into this person, his role ID is 1, that's user. I want it to be 2 to make him an admin, but that's not exactly a great interface, is it, to have to know that it's number 1 and number 2. So I think that's why I've said it's not very polished, but it's working. So that would be useful for people. Now, going to start work on athletics events. So the sensible thing to do here was not to go in and just write everything for signing up. It's to say, okay, we need some events, so let's just do a little bit of code around making this work. So I made an events.py. Oh, it looks like I did some structure stuff as well here. So I think it was because, so what I did was, by this point, app.py was getting pretty big. Have I got it here? No, I can't see a whole version of it. App.py is getting pretty big, and I could see with the athletics events added in there, and then other stuff that I'm going to be adding later, app.py was going to be unmanageable. So what I've chosen to do is put all of the code for this events.py into a separate file, so that when I think, oh, I need to work with the app, the stuff in the app, I'll go here. When I want to work with stuff to do with events, I'll go here into this file. To be quite honest, I probably should have done a users.py and an events.py, and app.py would be a bit more even tidier. That could be an event, something later. So you can see I have done a lot of placeholder stuff, I would have thought. All of these, I think, have got nothing much in them. So, I just thought, what are the templates I'm definitely going to need? Thought that through, planned it. organized and put them in place. And because both of app.py and events.py, we're going to need some common functions, most particularly that create connection one. I also made a utils.py, utilities I could have called it. Well, I don't know why I didn't call it utilities. It was a pointless abbreviation. Anyway, so in utils.py, I've just basically put this thing, and you can see I've removed it from here and it will have gone into utils.py. So then in my events.py, I've got being able to choose an event. I had to think really hard about how I would structure this. I will talk about this more in class. How I would edit an event, and you can see placeholder. This is all the default HTML. So I've made the files ready for work later. And there's really not a lot going on in this other one. You can see utils.py currently just contains this. Now, if you go look in app.py, you will see that there is, these imports. So I've imported the events file, and I've imported the utils file. And in the events file, I've got this from main import app, which I think you need. And it's not quite perfect. I think I need to go back and tidy some of that up, but good enough for now. And, that's a test for excellence. Can you fix my shoddy code? So then we've got users entering themselves for events and removing themselves. That's the add and remove button. This is, I think it works pretty well, but there's definitely still some polish to be added to it. Particularly for that UX standard, you'd want better than that remove add. And there's a bunch of validation. I've got a strong feeling you could enter yourself for more than 6 events, for instance, at the moment, and there is a hard limit. You're supposed to only be able to enter yourself for 6 events. So yeah, I've got some stuff here about the add and remove button that are working, and so on and so forth. So anyway, all the way up until this fully current working one with the events. You can add and remove events, and you can do anything else you need to do with list events and all the rest of it. So it's a basic application, but it does contain almost everything that you're going to need for your own application. It's certainly at an achieved level. For excellence level, you'd want to do other stuff as well, and you'd want to add quite a lot more polish. But we have got the rest of the year, so that's all good, isn't it? So just a reminder, we're in github.com/packsmith/athletics-day. I haven't given you the database here. The database, I'll just quickly flick through so you can see it here. These are you could work the database out actually from looking at the code, couldn't you? But anyway, these are the tables. So there's the entries. You can see this is me being entered for events, user entered into our event. I'll talk a lot more about that in relational stuff. This is the events. This is the roles, which have been separated out, and these are the users. So that's the structure of the database, which you can replicate if you want to replicate this exact thing. Well, I'm assuming you're just going to use it to learn from and adapt and make your own program for. So I think I've reached the time limit for Screencast-O-Matic. So hope that's helpful.